This is how I took a low ticket offer funnel from 1.14x return on ad spend on average to 1.61x return on ad spend, generating $9,260 in profit in literally just 1 week. This is what I did to change everything. So if we look over here, we can see that we spent $15,000 and generated directly through Facebook ads $19,000. However, I was doing a few more things on the back end to manage to get up to $24,000, equating to $9,200 in profit for this client in literally just a week. It's really quick fixes. And keep in mind, the previous year, he struggled to even hit a 1.2x return on all of his efforts in marketing. So within a week, I was able to turn it around really quick, which was awesome. So one of the biggest first things that I saw was that he was collecting email follow-up. Let me show you the funnel real quick. So here's the funnel. It's targeting men age 35 plus who want to learn to weld from home as hobbyists, not so much for career stuff, but he does sell to some people that do it for a career. And so it goes from ad, it leads to this landing page to a low ticket $58 offer, right? And yes, he has sold it for $500 in the past, so he can claim things like that. So the next thing when they get the checkout, if they're interested, is they'll put in their name and their email before purchasing. What this does is trigger an abandoned cart sequence so that it's a 5-day sequence. For whatever reason, if they don't purchase, let's say they get distracted, they have second guesses and they need more time before they spend the $58, they leave the page and you lose them forever unless you have retargeting ads. But an even more efficient way to retarget them is through an abandoned cart sequence. So you had a 5-day sequence. However, one of the biggest things he never took advantage of was after the 5 days, nothing happened to these email subscribers. They weren't getting reached out to. And this is happening for over a year of spending between $1 to $2 grand a day, which is 30 to 60 grand a month, right? So a lot of lost opportunity there. I found at least 2,500 people in the abandoned cart sequence that hadn't been reached out to after the 5-day sequence. So the first thing I did was write 2 to 3 emails per week, just telling stories of cool stuff people have welded before and built. And each email brought in at least $500 to $800, which was awesome. They weren't even very complicated or super salesy emails. It was just demonstrating what the course was able to do for himself as well as for others, right? So that really helps just that week. I think we sent out 2 emails and it brought in the extra boost, helped ROAS quite a bit. Okay, the next thing we did, we went into the Meta Ads Manager and we went through all the campaigns. We basically looked at which ads were performing well the last 5 to 7 days, since it's a 5-day sales cycle, and which ads performed very poorly. And we had third-party tracking like Hyros that can basically tell us which ad brought in the exact sale. Because sometimes Facebook ads, since iOS 14 update, has been kind of wonky with attribution and all that things. We went into each ad, so we basically placed benchmarks. So the benchmark was he wanted to get to 1.2x return on ad spend. So anything below 1.2x, if it was hitting a 0.9 to 1.2x, like between that range, I was basically descaling the ad set by 20% daily so that we can basically spend less until it hits that 1.2x or more. And then anything below that 0.9 return on ad spend is we basically shut it off. We say, oh, it's not doing well. And then the ones that were 1.2x or more, we started to scale them vertically, which meant scaling them by 20% daily in budget, hoping that they keep the same amount of return on ad spend. And we found quite a few of them that were 2x ad spend, 1.8x ad spend, that we could spend a lot more towards. We also did horizontal scaling where we took the ones that were above that 1.2x and we duplicated it 3 times at different budget ranges so that we could horizontally and scale that ad set and ad faster. So that was another way that we were able to work around that. There's also a lot of waste that we found. So we were able to shut off quite a few ad sets within a lot of the campaigns, because when you're spending $2 grand a day, 1.5K a day, things like that, and if it's a short sale to $58 with all the upsells, and everything in between, there was a lot we had to do each day to really maintain a healthy return on ad spend. Another issue was the ads weren't being looked at every day. They're being looked at every few days or whenever the business owner wanted to or had time. And with something like ads management, each day, if you're spending that much, can really fluctuate. Or let's say the page breaks for a day. It's really smart to catch it early on so you're not blowing your budget and wasting it. The second thing we did was we cleaned up their ad sets, right? So there was a lot of wasted budget on poor performing ad sets, and there was a lot of ad sets that were previous winners that were shut off, right? And this is where tracking and clean data really comes in handy, which we did have, which was great. And so we ended up just going into all of the setting benchmarks. So he wanted to hit a 1.2x return on ad ad spend from Facebook ads and overall spend with anything, and he wasn't hitting it, right? He was hitting around like a 1.1, if that, sometimes 0.9, depends on the month. But he really struggled to keep consistent that 1x return over all his marketing channels, which was the goal. But things that were between 0.8 and 1.2x ROAS, we kind of left on because they're still bringing in sales, not quite at the spend, but we started descaling the budget by 20% daily. And then anything that was below 0.8 return on ad spend, we would just shut off. And then there was a lot of ad sets that were a 1x, 1.2x, even 2x, sometimes 3x return on ad spend that were shut off previously. They're like, oh, why are those shut off? It's probably just lack of awareness, or who knows? It probably brought in a sale later, right? So we went there and we shut those back on, which was great. And then the third thing we did is we doubled down on the winners. So out of those ad sets and ads, we identified the winners that were above a 1.2x or more. And we basically started vertically scaling those by 20% daily, which means we go into those specific ad sets and ads and we scale it by 20% for the budget daily, as long as it consistently keeps its 1.2x or more return on ad spend. Now, if it starts to dip, we would start descaling it by 20% daily. Now, the next way we were able to double down on them, we would duplicate them and horizontally scale, as they call it. We'd grab a winning ad set and ad and we'd duplicate it 3 to 4 times to the same audience, and we'd set them at different budgets, one at 20, one at 50, one at $100 a day, and we let it run. And most likely, out of those 3, I believe we had only one of them take off. I believe it was the $50 one. But we basically shut off the $20 one and shut off the $100 one. But the $50 one did really well, so we started vertically scaling that one too. So that's another way you can quickly test and double down on a specific ad set and ad. And then the last thing that we did, and this is just the beginning process, right? This was the first week. We started to do one-to-one Zoom interviews with some of their current customers and clients. And what this allowed us to do was basically understand how they talk, what their needs are. Welders ages 35 plus are very different from like a marketer who's in their 20s, right? Things like that. Or a female who welds in their early 20s, something like that. So I was able to really get to know them and see them on a personal level versus just sending out some kind of survey or something. Like surveys do help from a mass scale. We had a huge list, but it was super helpful. I hopped on call with about 10 individuals and really get to know their story, why they bought the course, what piqued their interest, what their desires are, their pains are, stuff like that, right? It's a hobbyist course. So I just had to really understand why they were purchasing this course, if this is their first course they've ever purchased, or if they've purchased multiple. All those things come into factor. And this helped me write high converting ad copy and be able to test new things to find new winners versus just relying on the same old and seeing creative ad fatigue, right? So, and let me show you on the screen here what we've been able to accomplish. This is old news. This is the first week in November that I took them over. It is now December 24th. And let me show you the before and after from September to October, when I wasn't running their ads, from November to December. Here we go on Hyros, and I'll show you overall. So here's the old results that when the business owner is running his own ads. And on his own, it's very impressive without much direction. But he spent $98,000, generated $103,000, so only around $5,400 directly from Facebook ads. And then with email and a little bit of organic, but mainly it's just email, he was able to generate a little more with a total of $135,000. So $37,000 profit, which is still great within a 2-month time span. But I'll show you the difference. Not only spending, I believe, less, but we managed the budget a lot better. We spent $105,000, so around the same. We spent $6,000 more. Directly from Facebook ads, we've generated $150,000. So that's $44,000 in profit directly from Facebook ads versus $5,000, right? And then with a lot of our email marketing campaigns, we just send 2 to 3 emails a week telling stories, nothing fancy. We've been able to generate an additional like $44,000, $40,000. So just within these 2 months, we have $89,000 in profit versus what was previously, which was around that $40,000. So we nearly doubled the profit without spending more. So essentially we spent around the same amount and we doubled the profit just by adding email, doubled down on the winners, shut off the waste, turn on the ones that should have been spending. And that's basically it. That's how we've been performing the last month. Keep in mind, this is a long process. We've been optimizing the funnel. We've been optimizing the emails, the ad copy, the ad creatives. We have a creative team I've been writing the ads for. I'll keep you posted with more future updates, but don't sleep on low ticket offer funnels. A lot of people think that it really doesn't matter what funnel you do, as long as you optimize the funnel to the fullest. You can have a live webinar funnel. You could have a VSL book to call funnel. You can have a direct to sales page funnel. In this case, it's a low ticket offer funnel that leads to a few upsells and things like that. It doesn't matter what funnel you use, As long as you figure it out, optimize it to its fullest, and give it the time of day. A lot of people will just copy and paste a template that some other guru did, and then they'll just give up. What worked for one other person in a niche might not work for you, right? And there's also market sophistication. If it worked for you using this marketing template, and let's say you're one of the first persons to join this guru's, templates that he's selling and everything, like let's say after he sells 10,000 of them, now that market sophistication is more sophisticated, and it might not work as well as how it used to, because there's so many other people doing the exact same thing, right? Marketing is ever changing. If you like this video, it means the world to like and subscribe. This channel is pretty fresh and new. I drop lots of insights on ads, funnels, copywriting, and how to convert cold traffic, essentially. Cold traffic's getting harder and harder. Lots of ad costs are rising, things like that. There's a lot of tracking issues these days with a lot of security and privacy updates. But this is what I do every day for clients and for my own offers, and it's what I enjoy. So if you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe and like the channel. And love you. Okay, bye-bye.